All right, welcome everybody. And hello. I'm excited to bring you the 2022 State of the City Address for the great city of Killeen. This will be my final one as mayor, as I'm rounding out the end of my final allotted term after 6 years. Time flies when you're having fun. I truly enjoyed being the mayor, and I've always understood that I cannot accomplish anything without the help and support of so many people willing to engage and to take action to help our city grow and overcome any and all the challenges that we as a city have faced. No mayor can accomplish anything alone. And I know that we have faced a lot of challenges during my 6-year term, and particularly within the last 2 years with the COVID. So, let me turn this slide here. Oh,
On the right side.
got it. All right. And so before I begin, I want to take a moment to say thank you, first off, to all of our citizens, because a city, just like all other cities, is driven by our citizens and their involvement in the community. I never took that for granted. I also want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone that has gotten us through the last couple of years. These are years that will probably be known as the COVID years for many years. I want to take a moment to thank our frontline workers, our healthcare providers, who work so hard in trying to take care of all of those affected through this COVID years, and also help prevent the spread. I also want to thank our first responders, all of our public servants, and all of our nonprofits. We had a lot of nonprofits that would reach out to me and say, Mayor, how can we help? We had a lot of churches. I want to take a moment to say thank you to all our faith-based churches out there. And last, our businesses. Our businesses have gone through a lot. Some of them are still recovering with the lack of workers and a lack of business. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to our veteran community. There's been a lot of outreach from our soldiers, being Fort Hood is here. So I know they've helped us quite a bit during this time. So again, lastly, thank you. Thank you very much to all of you for what you have done within this last 2 years. All right, so I want to start with our population count. As everybody knows, in 2020, we did a census, and our population had increased by 30,000 people. I know on the census it showed about 153, and we're on the second year of when the census was taken. I think right now we're at about 155,000. If you go on Google and search, some sites have us as many as 160,000 people here in Killeen. You can say that our city has been growing for decades. I remember when I got here in 1990, there was just a little bit over 60,000 people, 1990. Today, as I mentioned, there's 155,000 people. That's about 3,000 people moving to Killeen every year within the last 30 years. That's a lot of people. But what that goes to show is that Killeen is a great place. People recognize that. And they select Killeen as a place to retire, a place to move their families, a place to raise their kids. And I'm proud to say I'm one of them, moving here from a different and a much bigger city. I think our slides are a little bit slow. There we go. So one of the things that we've been working on for about a year is this comprehensive plan. And this comprehensive plan is something very important. It outlines our city's future, a plan that will guide us through the next 10 years, 10 years of growth and beyond. This spring, we invite all of you, because this has been something that is not only being worked on by your city council, it's being worked on by all of our citizens. We have people out there in workshops, walking streets, working with the company that we hired, working with the staff, working with us as council to make sure that we create a great vision for our city. This plan will deal with improving our roadways, our quality of housing, improving the quality of housing, cultivating the local business community, revitalizing our downtown, something very important to me, and improving our North Killeen, our neighborhoods in the North Killeen. So I encourage everybody to be part of this process and attend the council meeting this spring. There you go. Thank you. That one moved good, so. Our funding, fiscal responsibility is something that the council really has taken to heart, and they ensure that we are spending your tax dollars responsibly. When it comes to property tax, this past year when we approved this budget, the council lowered the tax rate for a second year in a row. And that's something that hasn't been done in a very long time. The adopted tax rate this past year was 70.04 cents. That's down 3.26 cents from FY 2021. And the other thing is that more people have been spending here locally in Killeen, because one of the other great things that have happened here in the city of Killeen is our sales tax revenue is up 15% from the previous year. And again, that goes to show how much our population has grown, because I think a lot of it has to do with our growing population. More and more people are out there spending money here locally. City council and funding. One of the other things that we have taken advantage of as a city is what we call American Rescue Plan Act funding, ARPA, known as ARPA. And as a city, I know most of you heard that we received about $28 million to be used for economic relief and recovery. And this money was designated to invest in the people and the economy of Killeen, from long-term projects to rental and employment assistance. The city also utilized what we call a CARES Act funding to provide rent, mortgage, and utility assistance to more than 1,800 families. CARE is the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, which provides fast and direct economic aid to those negatively impacted by the pandemic. Our city council had more accomplishments. Also, first off, we had 3 new members that came on board this last year, May and June. We had our district race. So District 1, we welcomed Jessica Gonzalez. District 2, we welcomed Nina Cobb. And District 4, we welcomed Michael Boyd. And this year we got another election. So we encourage everybody to turn out in big numbers for our May 7th election, where 3 at-large seats are open up for grabs, as well as my mayoral seat. And last thing on there, and I added this one because it wasn't on my notes, but I did want to talk about our new district map that the council just approved recently. So we now have a new district map, so it doesn't, I think it's more clear. It doesn't confuse as to where you have to vote, especially when you're voting in district, which we're going to be doing again next year. This year, it's all at large, so you can pretty much vote in any one of your locations out there. But next year, this new district map that the council has approved, very important, and very well much needed. All right, continuing on the funding, I want to talk about some of the things that the council approved and voted on in this past budget. One of the things is it came from our fire department. They added a 9-member ambulance crew. And this is important because our ambulance crew, they go on a lot of runs. And we need to provide them with all the tools and equipment that they need to be able to provide the service that our citizens require. And I think that adding a new ambulance crew will go a long way to providing what it is that they need as far as our citizens to be able to provide that emergency service. Also, one of the things that we did in the budget is we had a 4% increase for public service and our civil employees. We were way down the totem pole as far as employee pay, and I think the council thought it was important that we increase their pay. Some of them are out there in this heat working hard, and they were pretty much close to minimum wage. So what we did and the council is increase that pay by 4% plus add $2 an hour premium pay for public safety employees in order to be able to retain them. One of the things that we as a city have a challenge with sometimes is turnover, especially in our public service sector. And I think that $2 an hour pay for public service and safety employees will go a long way. We've been working on our streets. We've added a 6-member crack seal team. You've probably seen a lot of road repairs going on out there and a lot of streets being blocked. I know I get a lot of those calls there, but it's for a good thing. I think that will continue, and you will see a lot of street improvement. That's one of the major things that I'm glad that we were able to accomplish during this last budget cycle, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here later. In order to get that started, we wanted to issue a bond to kind of do an advance payment, and with that, the council did approve a $24 million certificate obligation to expedite those street repairs. Otherwise, we would be waiting until next year before all that money that we're collecting is in the budget in order to be able to pay that. And so lastly there, when we had that winter storm, council did approve almost $6 million for overlay and milling on a lot of those streets that needed repairs. I know a lot of people had called myself and our council members about these potholes and a lot of street damage, and we were able to knock that out quickly and efficiently. The last thing here, because I've already talked about the $5.8 million, I'm kind of going off my notes here, but I think I feel better just kind of reading the script than reading my notes here, so hopefully you can. So one of the things the council did is that $10 street maintenance fee, and when we initiated that the first time last year, we were expected to generate at least $9.6 million annually, which is going to go a long way. I think that this is going to have a tremendous impact in changing the way the streets look. And every year, as we charge our citizens that, as our citizens pay the $10, we will generate about $4.3 million that we can use specifically for our roads. And this is something that I think is very important. Ever since I've been on the council, it's something that I wanted to do because every budget year, we have to figure out how much we're going to spend on our roads. It comes out of the general funds. By doing this $10 maintenance fee, what it did is it create a specific fund every year that is dedicated solely to our streets. And we're going to do this every year, so there should be no reason why our streets are ever in need or in dire need of repairs. All right, the budget that was approved last year in September was $268 million budget approved by council. And a lot of the things that I had just talked about are part of that budget. We also included 90 capital improvement projects totaling $70 million. Again, it's going to go a long way to helping improve not just our streets, but the whole city. And so very proud of that, very proud of the council for doing this, because this is something that has been lingering on for many years. I would say probably ever since I've been on the council, and this council was able to tackle that. I know I still get calls on Bunny Trail and Stagecoach, and that's coming up. You know, we're going to have some meetings on Bunny Trail, and we're going to see planning process for that. We're also still working on Stagecoach. Unfortunately, that's still in litigation, so as soon as we're out of that, you'll see that repaired. But for most of your major streets, as of right now, you're going to see all these streets being taken care of if they haven't been already. Another thing that we included in our budget is an animal control officer. This is very important. They're in dire need of more help there. Again, a lot of citizens call the city, they call myself for animals, stray animals, and I think that's very important that the council was able to add that. I think that hopefully we'll continue to add more and get that under control. We also added additional code enforcement officers to make sure that everybody's in compliance. You know, all these old buildings, people that are not taking care of their properties, we'll make sure that we hold them accountable. And if not, you know, we're going to end up finding them. But that's something that, again, really needed in order to improve the aesthetics of our city, more code enforcement. Another good thing that came out of that is part of those ARPA funds, that $28 million that I talked about here earlier. What the council did on that is that they dedicated part of that for local nonprofits. Again, I mentioned when I first started that we can't do things alone. There's a lot of local nonprofits out there that help our city. And I think that is important that we recognize that and provide as much support and help as we can, especially when it comes to mental health. Mental health is something that I think we as a city need to do whatever we can to help our citizens and work through a lot of these nonprofits so that they can get the help that some of our citizens need before anything is committed, a major crime or something worse. They also designated part of that $28 million ARPA fund to our parks. One of the things that we want to do is continue to improve that quality of life that we see here in Killeen. And we thought that the parks is very important, you know, not just for our youths, but for everyone, you know, our adults, our seniors, everybody that wants to get out and enjoy it. And you're going to see a lot of our parks improve quite a bit. So there's quite a change on that coming. Also, one of the things that the council did is water rates. Water rates have increased, the sewer rates that is, between 84 and $1.47. And that is based on usage. So if you say, is that going to increase my bill? Well, it depends on how much you use. But if you don't use a lot, you're going to save. So I think from my perspective, it's one of the things that we can do to also encourage people to conserve. And with that, it will add another $1.5 million to our budget. And last on this one, every year the City Council does an annual audit. We're required to do one. And we've gotten a clean and a great audit again for 2020, just like the previous year. One of the things that this council, myself, and our staff tries to do every year is make sure that we are as transparent as we can be to our citizens, especially when it comes to our finances. All right, one of the great things, you know, that we have that is very important is our staff. As mayor, I always say, you know, I can't do anything alone. We as council really do not work here on a daily basis, and so it's the council's job, it's the city manager's job to make sure that we have great employees to provide that service to our citizens. And this year, we hired, I think, some great people to kind of lead that effort. First thing is we got a new assistant city manager. She's not a stranger to the city of Killeen. I go to her a lot, and very knowledgeable person. And so we're glad to have her on board. We got a new fire chief. Fire chief came from Illinois. As soon as he got here, he was put to the test with that major hotel fire that everybody kind of knows about there off the highway, and he did an excellent job, and it was done during the winter storm. So we tested him out. We gave him that test, and he came out with flying colors. So another great worker. We moved up a Public Works director. He has a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge here in the city. So another great person that was put in that position. And our old communication director retired. I shouldn't say old because she's not old, but we got a new communication director that came to us from outside the city, and she's been doing a great job here, getting communication out to our citizens, working on our website, working with the media. And then last is our developmental service director that we have, that he also doing a great job. He's just been with us probably just a couple of months, I think. So again, great hire. And most recently, we, as the council, because everybody else that I kind of mentioned works for the city manager, so they fall under him. As a council, there's only really 3 people that work for us. We got the city manager, the judge, and the auditor. And this year, the city council got the news that our previous judge, Judge Kimball, was retiring. So we went into hiring process, and we had some great candidates. But finally, the city council did pick a new judge, Judge Mark Kimball, and they just approved him last week. And so he will be joining Team Killeen here soon, and he'll be working in our municipal court. And so we look forward to having him here. Emergency service, talking about the COVID, what we've been through the last couple of years. One of the things that we've done, and I think that the city and everybody else has done a great job, especially during this crisis, is we've issued out more than 10,000 vaccinations. We've done a drive-through. We work with a lot of different organizations. We work at KISD, and we were able to try, our goal was to try to get at least 50% vaccinated. I think we got pretty close to that. We also issued more than 5,000 COVID tests as a city. I know that a lot more was issued, but again, we work with all these different organizations that help increase those numbers. And that's something that kind of took most of the time these last couple of years. Continuing on emergency, we've gotten the innovation use of coronavirus relief funds. We've been using that for many different things that relate to coronavirus. And so that is one thing that we're grateful for to the federal government. We've been able to manage about $18 million in federal aid funds, in addition to the ARPA funds at $28 million that I mentioned earlier. All of that can be tracked on our website there, KilleenTexas.gov. And again, working with our local partnerships to open up warming centers. We've had to do that 12 times this year, as recently as last week. Public safety. Public safety is one of the things that myself and our city council will never lose focus on. I know that that's important. It's something that it's important to our citizens. We want to ensure that we have a safe city. But one of the good news is that last year, crime dropped about 10% over the previous year. And the police department is doing a lot in order to help continue that trend, to ensure that it goes down. We do have a new training division where it trains police supervisors and personnel. We've also doubled officers' training hours so that they can spend more time out there learning and how to react to citizens. The other thing is that council, not only tasers, I know it says transition to latest taser models, but the council has been very supportive in providing all the equipment that our police officers need in order to be able to do their job. So we're grateful for the council that they're providing everything, not only to our police department, but our fire department. Everything that they asked for has been funded and provided to them so that they can ensure that they're providing that great service to our citizens. One of the things that continues to draw the attention of all of us is our domestic violence. Domestic violence is one of the things that we continue to focus on and work on. I know that about 70% or more of our major fatalities here in the city have to do with domestic violence. And that's where we get back to working with our nonprofits and mental health organizations to try to provide whatever we can to our citizens and try to capture that before something tragic happens. With our fire department, we've added more ambulances. They've been working hard. They've been at remote locations. They put out wildfires. They've assisted border security, so they've been busy. They've assisted Louisiana hurricane victims. And so our fire department, kudos goes to them and the chief for everything that they've done. We've got a new assistant chief position that the council approved. One of the things that the fire department did recently is that they did a master plan from the Killeen Fire Department, a master plan that was approved with the council that provides guidance here for our future. And one of the things that I'm looking forward to is that the council, part of that $28 million ARPA fund, is that they set aside about $11 million to provide an emergency operation and training center. So we're working on that. We're in the planning stages. And hopefully we'll see that in the next few years. And that's something that when we have these major emergencies, we've never had an emergency operations center where we can plan and see and guide everything that we need. And that, I think it's very important. And so grateful for the council in order for them doing this. All right, the city boil water notice. Everybody remembers that. That happened in October 2021. I think that that's something that was unexpected, obviously, but it is a crisis that we as a city, we learned a lot. We learned to prepare better. We learned to ensure that something like this does not happen again. And so we were, as much as we can, trying to make sure that we provide our citizens as much information of what was going on as possible. And the one thing that came out of this is that TCEQ, the environmental quality, we did not lose a rating. I mean, that's one of the things that we worked hard with. We worked hard with the state to make sure that we were doing everything that we are supposed to, and they told us that we were. So we never lost any rating or anything with them. All right. Our community development. We have gotten a lot of funding from block grants, what we call CBDG. And a lot of this money has touched the lives of many here in Killeen. More than 1,100 applications were processed for what we call our utility billing assistance. More than 160 applications were approved for emergency rental and mortgage assistance. More than 120 applications were approved for the Texas Emergency Rental Assistance Program. And more than 31,000 benefited from the COVID-19 vaccine and testing clinics. So the Community Block Grant Program also funded a new code enforcement officer that I had mentioned earlier. and the completion of the parking improvement project at the new downtown location of the Boys and Girls Club, as well as the Head Start expansion. And so the Boys and Girls Club located in downtown, we were able to donate part of that, and so they're going to expand that. Our airport, the Killeen Fort Hood Regional Airport, I think the biggest story out of there is the $1.3 million in grants and funds that was received through several entities. $1 million came from the federal programs grant, which is combined with cash contributions of $200,000 from the Killeen Economic Development Corporation, $10,000 from the Advent Hospital, $100,000 from the Aviation Fund, and other in-kind services from the City of Killeen. And the goal is securing an airline. I know we talk about the airport a lot, and I know we lost an airline, but the goal is to secure a new airline route to a new hub and a new airport. We're targeting Denver. But with all that said, our airport was one of the first regional airports in the country to rebound from the effects of COVID-19. And that started in May of 2021, which is last year. Our passengers numbers were almost 10% higher than they were in 2019. In 2021, the Federal Aviation Administration awarded the airport over $10.6 million in grants, or in a grant, for a multiple airport construction project, including a 23,000 square foot aircraft hangar, which will result in at least 20 initial jobs. And this funding also provides for the design of a second hangar, which is a grant for the construction of this hangar, and it is expected in the April and May timeframe. Our downtown Killeen. One of the things I want to talk about is, I know this is a big item in a lot of our citizens' mind, is our grocery store. And that's something that the city continues to work to attract. We're actually in the process again. We've been through this process several times, but we're in the process again of trying to get somebody here. We're in that conversation, and hopefully here soon we'll have some good news. Another thing that I think it's big is what we call the public facility complex. And this is a complex that has over 368 units, a luxury complex known as Robinson 42, on the corner of W.S. Young Drive and Veterans Boulevard. You've probably seen construction being done on there. We already had the groundbreaking on that, and hopefully we'll see something towards the end of the year, first part of next year. And I think that will go a long way to providing the foot traffic that we need in our north downtown, in the downtown area, in the north part of town. And then speaking of downtown, one of the things that the council did within this budget, which I think it's a great thing, is they dedicated about $200,000 was budgeted to do more events in our downtown area. We had one event a couple of weeks ago. We got another one on March 26th. And so what we're trying to do is encourage people to go to our downtown area and support our businesses down there and the people that live there. All right, rec services. The Recreational Service Department has also had several comprehensive plans that are coming to fruition. One of them is that they created a Parks Master Plan, and the council adopted this just recently, as in February 2022. Another big thing is our Gilmore Center. We've been planning on that for several years, but we're looking forward to that new building. We're in the design plans right now. That's a $5.8 million senior wing and a youth center, which is a community center. Once the construction starts on that, it's slated to take about 12 to 14 months to complete. Rec Services has also begun comprehensive work on a deferred maintenance within several of our parks. This year, they've allocated about $1.1 million towards the department's allocated ARPA funds. And you'll see again, as our parks start to improve and work is on them. This plan continues to place the priority on old, antiquated parks, infrastructures by replacing all of these old equipment. And the last thing on our parks is enhancing recreational programs. What we want to do is add a soccer league, competition 7-on-7 football league, mobile recreation series, monthly wellness classes, updated equipment, aquatic family fun Fridays, and also increasing the hours of our rec centers there. Fort Hood, I'm almost down here, but before I get into the final highlights, I just want to take a moment to salute our brave men and women who are serving here at Fort Hood, as well as their families. Those current and former service members helped make Killeen what it is today. We know that many on post answered the call, and recently some of them deployed to Europe to support NATO allies amid the invasion of Ukraine. So it's imperative that Killeen maintain a strong partnership with Fort Hood and 3 Corps. Over the last few years, myself and those on the council have met several times with military leadership. I meet on a monthly basis with them. And our goal is to continue to build upon the relationship that we have, that strong relationship, and expand that long-term and standing relationship with them. We want to be able to open that communications, especially during crisis, where we can communicate and help one another with whatever we can. And the last thing on Fort Hood that I want to talk about is the museum. This is something that has been in progress for the last 10 years. It's a $25 million world-class museum right outside the gate. The building has been completed. I have the honor of touring the building. Beautiful building. It will open next year, and the reason it's delayed, even though the building is completed, is because all the artifacts have to be moved inside, and there's a planning process that goes with that. But it's something that I think will benefit not just Fort Hood and the museum, but I think it's going to benefit the city as a whole. It is expected that that will attract about 250,000 visitors a year to the museum. And again, will have a tremendous impact on the city. I want to take the time to just recognize the board for all the work and all the donors, because this is something that required a lot of donations, about $25 million worth, in order to get this done. And at times it didn't look like it was going to happen. But we're grateful for that and thankful for everything that the Mounted Warfare Foundation has done. So I want to wrap this address up with a couple of highlights to show the small steps we're taking to make big change in our city. What we've begun to do is we are replacing mechanical water meters, those that you have in front of your house, with 5,000 ultrasonic smart water meters across the city. Eventually, we hope to have that installed in all the residents. But that's something that's part of the technology that we're helping improve our city. I think that will take us a long way. This is a part of a 10-year program that will replace the 55,000 meters that residents have currently. And once complete, because this project will take about 10 to 12 months complete, But once complete, we'll be able to kind of expand that and hopefully continue working on going from 5,000 to another 5,000 so that over the 10 years, we'll have everybody on there. The goal on this is to eventually be able to read your meters electronically. And another good silver lining is the route of the hop. A few years ago, we had to cut back and cut some routes, but the council within this budget this past year was able to add another hop, another route. That is, it will go from the Rosa Hereford Community Center to the Lions Club Senior Center. So I know a lot of people are glad about that. We hope to continue expanding on that because I think there is a major need for bus service and hop. And then also we have revamped our efforts to deliver all this information to you, our citizens. We do that through our websites, our social media, outlets, newsletters, and government channels. And all of that is available 24 hours a day. So hopefully everybody makes an effort to try to reach out if you're not getting this communication, because I always get people to say they didn't know, but to reach out and let us know if there's a different way that you would like to receive that communication, because we also do the newsletters in your water bill. We try to provide as much information as we can. But again, we're trying to be as transparent as possible and let everybody know that we're here for you. So with that said, I just want to say, from Fort Hood to the local colleges, to the Killeen Independent School District, to the Chamber of Commerce, and the Killeen Economic Development Corporation, we must and will unite to make this city one that you are proud of and one that you can call home. As we continue to make strides throughout 2022, we want to remember the two words that I mentioned as I began this speech, which got us through 2021, which is resiliency and teamwork. Always know that the City of Killeen employees and its City Council are here to serve you. Continue to give your feedback, ask questions, and provide recommendations. So with that, thank you. And I know that I got a little bit of time, so I said I'd stick around if anybody wants to ask questions. I was trying to get my rhythm here. You know, it's like, man, you guys are good. No? We're good. All right, thank you.